Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic, and welcome back to another look back at the month's worth of comics that were on my pull list. I'm going to pick out my 5 favourite comic book reads of April, and I'm going to throw in 5 extra comics that are at least worth a shout out. And before I crack on with that, there's something I missed out on over the last few days. I've been away, so I missed doing a video on this, but here is just as good a place as any to let you know, and just to say a huge big thank you. Why? Well, as of the 29th of April, I've been on YouTube for 6 years now. 6 long but glorious years. I've loved every minute of my time here on YouTube, and I'm sure there'll be many more years to come as long as I'm within a job and I can pay for these things, because they're not cheap. But I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone, not just those people who have been with me for years and years, but people who have basically just subscribed to me maybe in the last few weeks. Every single one of you, I'm just so grateful that you've chosen to hit the subscribe button and watch my videos week in, week out. However sketchy the kind of output of my videos may have been of late, I'm working on it, I promise you. Loads of ideas, just need a good kick up the arse, and hopefully you'll be there along with me to watch what I've got next to show. On to this month's worth of comics. April, finally, amazing April. January, February, March have been pretty dire. Not that there wasn't some good comics out there, as you've seen in my last monthly reviews, but I was just a little bit disappointed. I was looking forward to some great stuff for 2016, and everything was just kind of averagely good. Nothing really stood out as, wow, I've got to tell everyone about these things. But April's changed. There are some fantastic comics out that came out in April. Amazing. This is my stack of comics I picked up this week. Nice big healthy batch. Lots of new issues, new #1s came out in April. You never know, a lot of them you might find in my top 5, or at least as a shout out. So without further ado, let's crack on. Now, I'm not really one for buying Dark Horse titles in single issues, though they are starting to creep in here and there, and no more so than House of Penance issue #1. This is the latest kind of horror title, I would say, from Peter Tomasi, Ian Bertram and Dave Stewart. Based on real life people. We have Sarah, the wife of William Winchester, the rifle tycoon, and her dealing with her life as a widow. William has died now, and she's inherited the fortune, and eccentric does not even begin to describe this woman's life, as kind of Tomasi and Bertram give us just a downright creepy and disturbing look at this widow, Sarah Winchester, as she kind of battles the darkness that not only is going on in her mind, but within the corridors and the mazes of this fantastic house that she keeps building and building upon. Basically, we have her creating this crazy maze of rooms and additions to this already overburdening mansion, and the workers that she brings in to do the job. She has just but 3 rules for these workers to come and work for her, and that is no violence, no lying, and no lateness. Sounds a good work ethic to me. And of course, the one special point is that there are to be no guns on site, and she takes them from them and kind of systematically kind of breaks down the bullets into their little components, the powder, the shells, and then throws the spent guns down into a well. It's all just very, very very creepy. The Bertram and Stuart's artwork on this is fantastic, and they've created this environment which demands you take a closer look, not just architecturally, there is so much going on there, but they have created very distinct, very unique characters that you never get any of them mixed up with each other. Just a fantastic brand new read. This is a 6-issue mini-series. A very, very cool start, very creepy start. I'm very intrigued to see where this one is going to go. It wouldn't be a top 5 favourites of the month without throwing in my favourite Marvel comic at the moment, Doctor Strange, issue number 7. This is part 2 of The Last Days of Magic. There's a mini-series running throughout this as well. Unfortunately, I missed out picking one up. He'd run out, but he's buying me the other one in, so hopefully I'll be able to catch up. But this didn't feel like I'd missed anything, with this being part 2, as we get the beginnings of the history of the empirical, and what it basically boils down to at the end of the day is science versus magic and their war, I guess, against each other. It kind of mixes in with a kind of Superman-esque origin, as the son of these two science-based characters is jettisoned into space to save them from these dark, seemingly forces of magic. And it's just such a great start to the book. It adds a bit more layers on. We now know where these characters are, why they are the way they are, and the story jumps from that history back to the here and now, where obviously Doctor Strange and a few of his magical buddies aren't doing so well, as they have used up apparently all of the magic in our Earth, and it's time, well, to be executed, basically. The empirical showing no mercy as they begin to cull these magic users, and their eye first turns on magic. But it's and it just doesn't look well. It doesn't look good for any of them until Monaco turns up, this small kind of elderly gentleman who you just think, you haven't got a chance. Doctor Strange has just given his all and not been able to even phase them, and here is this old, poor, decrepit man. But amazingly, he does this daring escape plan, but the ultimate sacrifice is made to rescue these characters. But it does leave a clue as to the next Doctor Strange kind of movement on in the story, as we discover that, you know, magic hasn't gone for good. It is now kind of hiding away in the darkest areas, and this is obviously the story we're going to get from Jason Aaron and Chris Picciello, as Doctor Strange goes in search of those last remaining elements of magic. I just love Picciello's artwork in here, as always. I like the stark white, black and greys of the empirical. Obviously it's very clean and very scientifically based, juxtaposed with the colour of the magic users. Just a great book, so immersive. I love it to death. Moving on to another new issue 1, and yes, it's also from Dark Horse. It's Department H. Matt Kint's new sci-fi murder mystery tale. We have this story centred on the young female Mia, who is setting out to investigate who killed her father. The only problem is the crime scene is set miles and miles beneath on the bed of this sea. Where there are a number of characters who may or may not have killed her father. Some people she knows that she has history with, and some that she doesn't. This is such a tense, claustrophobic and kind of an uncomfortable read, but Kent immediately puts us in the shoes of Mia, and we have this sense of like, you just can't trust anyone here. Any single one of them could have done this. Any one of the crew could have had a hand in this. And it just makes the reader feel the tension creeping in, you know, the claustrophobic nature of having these millions of tons of ocean above you, and you're just in this kind of little dome with no escape, that it's very difficult to get back up. I know Kint's artwork can be kind of loose, and there's that kind of phrase, ugly beautiful, but it fits this book so well. I don't know what else to say about this. It was just a fantastic read. Kint says in the back that you're going to be so rewarded for reading this, not in singles, not only because it's just a great story and he's going to be popping in little clues here and there for you to hopefully pick up along the way and maybe find out who the killer is before this book ends, but he's going to be adding extra material in the back that you won't find anywhere else, even in collected editions. So let's keep this book going, give it the longevity it deserves, even from a first issue. Just a wonderful read. I've read it a couple more times now and just found so much more to look at, to enjoy. If you missed out on Department H, go back to your comic book store, pick it up in singles. Do not wait for the trade. And another new #1 came out in April from Marvel. This time it's Moon Knight issue 1, not only taking on a team of X-Men, but Lemire is giving us his version of the multi-personality that is Marvel's hero, Moon Knight. With Greg Smallwood, Jordi Belair, I think we're really on to another winner. It's set in what appears to be a kind of psychiatric hospital, a mental asylum, but we are just as confused, the reader, as Mark Spector is, as he wakes up not knowing where he is. And you do have this element of what is real and what is just in Mark Spector's mind, as we kind of meet up with all these familiar faces of Mark Spector's past, whether it is in his, like, Jake Lockwood, the taxi driver. I'm sure it's Lockwood. That persona, the kind of guy who's out on the streets talking to people, trying to get, you know, information out of people, undercover wise. You also have seeing that the owner of the diner, the kind of tramp guy there, he's an old character from way back in the 70s. Just a great use of these origin type origin type characters. But at the end of the day, you are just like, is any of this actually real? Is this Jeff Lemire playing around with kind of Khonshu's hallucinatory way of making Moon Knight become the great avatar that he should be, and not this kind of multi-personality, drifting in and out, confused character? The action scenes in these are so brutal, they're so fast moving, just a great story. And Lemire gives, like, Smallwood and Belair that chance to stretch their talents in this book. It was a great issue 1 that just kind of left the reader at their end going, what have I just read? What's happening? And that to me is really great. It's grabbed me. I want to know more. This was always going to be on my pull list, and it should be on yours. Before we take a look at my favourite book of April, just 5 books that I want to give a quick shout out to. Didn't quite make it to my top 5, but they're fun, exciting, well worth reading titles from across the board, really. I'm kicking off with Marvel. It's Extraordinary X-Men issue #9. We've got Jeff Lemire again, Humberto Ramos. We have this transported into the future of Apocalypse storyline, and we see how our young team of X-Men cope without Colossus by their side. And as we saw in the last issue, as our X-Men from the present finally catch up, these poor kids have been in the world of Apocalypse for over a year, and I just love the way we see it over time, how these characters work together, how they combine as a team, how they actually grow physically. It's just so action-packed with great characters. We have some awesome little kind of cameos and looks at what could potentially happen in the future with certain characters. Just a fantastic, colourful, vibrant read. Next, on to Image's Dark Corridor. I had to put this in. It is the final issue, Dark Corridor issue number 7, and what an explosive ending, as we have Angie, our last remaining daughter, single-handedly finishing the job they all began with. It's blood and bullets. They are ruling the day in this book. It's kind of a off-kilter type of art style. It's very kind of independent, underground type of art style, but it suits this crime noir story. I would have loved to see this go on for longer, but as Rich Tomasi said in the back of this, it just didn't sell. Nobody picked this up, but give this book a brand new burst of life when I hope it comes out all collected in trade. Give it a chance, because it's a great story that kind of intermingles kind of pulp fiction-y style. Definitely worth a look. Thought, given it was their last issue together, Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder's Batman issue 51, and this is very much a kind of look back at their run as we see all elements of what they've been building to, and finally this very kind of not so much somber but very quiet issue called Gotham Is. If you remember right the way back in issue 1, they spoke about this column in the kind of the Gotham Gazette or whatever newspaper it's called, where people used to write in and say Gotham is blah 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 blah, and the tone all the way back in issue 1 was very dark. It was very fearful, and we get to this issue now where it is Gotham is Batman, as we've always known. He's the one that's protecting all the citizens. There are Snyder's left some potential storylines for future writers to pick up in this. Greg Capullo's artwork is fantastic as always. It's the end of an era for Batman, for Scott Snyder, for Greg Capullo, and it's also an end of an era for me. If you're not aware, I am not picking up any new Batman books in the Rebirth event that's coming up, unless I hear they are just cracking good reads. Moving on, penultimate one, Clean Room issue 7, another solid storytelling from Gail Simone as we learn more about Astrid's past, how she's collected people, I would say, along the way. And I like this kind of storytelling where we kind of set up as the reader to dislike Astrid as a character, but then you are thrown in these bits that, is she actually as bad as she first appeared? Is she just doing the things that, you know, people don't want you to do, or will have an adverse effect on the way you see them, but they get the job done, and the job is to keep back the kind of hordes of demons that are invading into our world. And it is this point again that you kind of like, who is more evil here? This is a point that's brought up. Is it the humans or is it the demons? As Astrid has a little chat with one of the head demons, and the demon kind of shows her up for not having the most moralistic views on how to dispose of certain elements of humanity. John Davis Hunt, the artist on this, continues to add to the creepy visuals, the kind of gore fest that goes on in this book. Just a fantastic. Vertigo does horror so well, And I'm really surprised with this book from Gail Simone as well. But please check this out. Finally, I would have given this a top 5. I would have told everyone to go out and buy this, but it is coming to the end, unfortunately. It's Midnighter issue 11, and I was so glad that Steve Orlando, the writer of this book, brought Apollo back, because Apollo and Midnight are meant to be together. They are like the gay power couple, and they are so great to each other and with each other. Orlando just has this way of adding a depth of emotion and feeling that, while seems strange juxtaposed against all the kind of over-the-top violence and action that goes on, but it still works. And I love this book from the very beginning, and it's going to be such a shame to see this go, because this book deserved so much more. So here it is, my favourite book from April. It is Deadly Hands of Criminal. It's Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips giving us a 10th anniversary special of the Criminal series. Remember this one? Savage Sword of Criminal. This was came out. Oh, when did this come out? Really? Should have looked at this beforehand, and this is going to be so hard to look into. Oh, here we go. 2015. Oh, it's just over a year ago. So almost a year later, we have this one, which is another look at the Lawless family. Last time in Savage Sword, we had it very much from the perspective of Teague Lawless while he was in prison and trying to get out. But this time we see everything from his son's point of view, Tracy, as this poor child is kind of dragged cross country, forced into doing these kind of small time crimes, you know, kind of stealing from petrol stations and convenience stores, but at the same time trying to keep a low profile while his father catches up with his kind of old crew with deadly effect to ensure his own anonymity and that his last job doesn't get uncovered. The story focuses basically on, as I said, on his son Tracy and this kind of brief respite from all the hell that his father puts through as he meets up with this loner girl in a town that they've stopped over on called Gabby, and they kind of bond together over a few days, and it's just this kind of enjoyment, this brightness that enters into this poor kid's life after being used and abused for so long, and for it to not last that long as well is heartbreaking. That when he leaves, you know that they can never talk to each other again, despite the fact that Gabby gives him her address to keep in touch. That's never going to be an option for Tracy. His life is firmly entrenched in the criminal world now, and it's unlikely that he will ever get out of it. Of course, with these great one-shot stories, Brubaker and Phillips do that comic within a comic, hence Deadly Hands of Criminal, but it always is so well done in that it parallels the character that you are actually invested in within the main comic. In this case, in the Deadly Hands part of it, we have a character called Dane who by night becomes this kind of karate ninja werewolf, that he's trying to hide that identity from his would-be girlfriend. And of course we have the parallel of that with Tracy trying to hide his father's nefarious criminal ways. Just a great book. As always, Sean Phillips' art style is just fantastic and gorgeous to look at. Again, epitomizes that kind of 70s vibe. Just a great package. I hope you all managed to pick up the big magazine cover. If not, try and find it. They're out there. They're scarce, but pick them up anyway, because it the whole aesthetic of it all as well, it is really cool. And there are all my comics for April. I hope you enjoyed that. Once again, thank you for sticking with me for these last 6 years. And till next time, another video will be on its way very soon, no doubt. Give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and let me know in the comments section below what books you enjoyed over April. Till next time, thank you for watching. Bye bye.